an important discussion. I wanted to personally thank everyone on the panel for being part of the discussion. And I also wanted to introduce, and it's my honor to introduce Donna Morea, our chairman of the board of GCOM. And it's an interesting thing that used to be that you couldn't call a woman a chairman, but nowadays you can. And Donna's has a really an amazing career that is really exemplifies the power of a strong woman in the career world. Donna's not only our chairman, she's also the chairman of SAIC, a very big and powerful federal contractor. She's also on the board of Truist, which is a large bank, the combination of two other banks. She's also an advisor to Carlyle Group, and it sits on the boards of many of their operating companies. And just to top that off, just in her free time, she sits on like 3 or 4 other boards, including some nonprofit and charitable boards. So it's my honor to really to introduce Donna, and she'll be leading this discussion. I'll also throw in that at GCOM we take diversity and inclusion very seriously. 60% of our executive leadership team is women, and 30% of the overall company are women. And usually it's the other way around. You may get 60% at lower levels, but not 60% at the higher levels. And so I think we have a qualitative and quantitative view of how we impact the world from a diversity and inclusion perspective. So with that, Donna, thank you so much for hosting this fireside chat with our lovely customers and our Chief Operating Officer. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kamal, and thank you for that really nice introduction. It is actually my honor and privilege to do this set of interviews to celebrate Women's History Month. I am absolutely pleased to be able to talk to 3 rock stars of Maryland's IT community. First, Brandee Ganz, who is the director of Howard County's Department of Technology and Communications, called DTCS. Second, Heidi Green, the Chief Operations Officer of GCOM. And third, Kenyatta Powers, the Chief Information Officer at the Maryland Department of Human Services. All 3 of these women are absolute leaders in their fields. And I thank each and every one of you for your generosity to spend time with us today with people who can learn so much from your wisdom and experience. So let's start by just having you introduce yourselves briefly. We'll start with Brandee, and you can tell us a little bit about you and your career. And in particular, maybe you can end with a fun fact, something that people might not know about you, people who work with you. So Brandee, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. It's such an honor to be here today. I'm very pleased to be a part of this wonderful work group and to talk with you about women in IT. Me, for the background on me, I started out actually in the private sector before I moved to the public sector. So I was in the private sector for about 15 years. And then I had the opportunity to move to the state, and I worked at the state as a contractor on the Race to the Top grants, and got very involved with several things that were happening within the state, especially within education. And from there, I actually moved over to the county. And when I started out at the county, I was in project management. So project management, it has been my background for quite a long time. And I love to work with individuals and to work with people, to really work on IT projects and things that actually helped to make a difference within our community. And so from there, I was promoted to the Chief Information Officer here at Howard County. And I've been in my position for about 3 years now. And it's great and it's wonderful to have an impact on those in the community and to be able to work with everyone here within the county. One interesting fact that I will say about myself, I am one of 8. So I have, yes, very interesting fact, right? I have four brothers and 3 sisters. So with that, I will hand it back over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandee, but I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Where are you in the birth order?
I am number 4.
Right in the middle.
Yes, ma'am.
Sandwich. A Ganz sandwich. That's amazing. Wow.
Yes.
If we had more time, I'd ask you a lot more questions about that. But that's all right, Heidi, over to you. I know you don't have 8 brothers and sisters.
No, I don't.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Well, as Brandee said, I actually started very briefly in the private sector, and I had an opportunity to work for a company that really was starting at the beginning of data analytics. And it was really interesting. I loved it. I kind of caught the bug for IT there. But they were small, they didn't stick around, and I had an opportunity to work for a company called American Management Systems, which I loved. And I started there, and that's kind of where I started in a group called Government and Education Systems. And I got the bug to work really for government and nonprofits, and I loved it. And I felt every day working in that environment that I was making a difference. I really made a difference to me because I really felt what we were doing was going to affect and help citizens, people, and it was just so much more rewarding than working for a bank or a treasury department, which sounds interesting too. But for me, that was kind of where I caught the bug, and I have done different things. I started really training people to use systems, then went into the project management side of things and program management. And really that was my background where I started. And then I got into operations for a large IT consulting firm and ran a portion of their business in the Western US. And that was all before I met Kamal, and he said, "Hey, Heidi, would you love to come back and focus on the public sector?" And I said, "I absolutely would." So that's my background.
Okay, what about a fun fact? You're not
Okay,
getting away without a
I
fun
have so many fun facts. Okay, so here's my quick fun fact. I have actually worked in the most eastern part of the Western Hemisphere, the most eastern location in the Western Hemisphere, and I've worked in the most western location in the Western Hemisphere, all for work, and I loved it. So it was great. I worked in Alaska for the state of Alaska for over 2 years, and I actually worked up in Canada. I actually visited and went to do a small amount of work in Canada up in Newfoundland. So there you go.
Okay, and how about Hawaii?
Oh, I've been in Hawaii. Yes, you're right. But even Alaska is even actually more.
It is? See, now that's a fun fact.
It is.
That you could be on Jeopardy. Okay, Kenyatta, over to you. Tell us about yourself.
All right, good morning. I guess we're in afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to thank you all for having me. It is an absolute pleasure to be in this panel amongst these other wonderful ladies. I am, as I stated right now, I am the CIO, but I started at DHS, but I started over 20 years ago, and I started with the Y2K project, right? When all of the systems was just going to come to an end once it rolled over from 1999 to 2000. And we were on a contract to upgrade all of our PCs and laptops across the state to make sure that they were Y2K compliant. So that contractual job was supposed to be for 6 months. And it lasted for almost 3 years. And then at that point, I became a state employee. So I worked my way up from a junior engineer as a contractor through many different positions throughout my career. As of now being the CIO, and I've been the CIO now for about 11 years. I didn't realize it was that long until I started calculating back some numbers. But yes, it's been 11 years since I've been CIO at DHS, and it has been a wonderful experience. And even with being CIO, I also am a speaker in which I speak at different conferences across the US, well, especially pre-COVID, talking to other young ladies in technology. I'm a mentor to other young ladies in technology, as well as an author. So just released my first book, and I'm a contributing author in November, and 2 more to be released this month. So again, I am happy to be here and be amongst these other wonderful ladies on this panel.
So is being an author your fun fact, or do you have another one?
My fun fact, I have many, but I'm going to go with the biggest one on my list, and that would probably be being married within with the pandemic. As of August of last year, we were recently married, and of course, it did not go according to plan. Nothing was as planned. You were told 30 days. It had everything already planned out. 30 days prior to nothing that you planned we can do. So 30 days to really plan a wedding, but we did it, and I am more than grateful and happy that we definitely proceeded in being a pandemic bride.
Congratulations. Tell us the name of your book that's coming out so everybody can rush to Amazon and pre-order it.
Step into leadership greatness. Leadership is not just a title. That's the name of the book. And the other is Women Who Lead in Technology.
Fantastic.
So yeah, both should be released this March.
Thank you. So I'll stick with you, and then I'll go back around to your colleagues here. Tell me what you think has been the secret to your success. You made it to the top, and I'd love to know what you think you brought that really was the secret sauce.
I'm going to say the secret sauce. I'm going to say pretty much is loving what you do. It has been, of course, everything has its own separate challenges, but being successful in this era of working at DHS and doing what we do and helping vulnerable citizens, it's a pleasure in doing what I do. It's a matter of wanting to help people, wanting to come to work, wanting to do what we do, and knowing that the systems that we support, the systems that I am responsible for, are these systems that provide the services that our constituents need at the most vulnerable times in their lives. So it is definitely wonderful and loving what I do.
Okay, Heidi, I'll come back to you on that question. What do you think is the secret to your success?
Well, how about I'll start with hard work. The fact that I would say, Kenyatta, I totally agree with you. Having a passion for what you do and enjoying it is really, I would say, I credit that, because every day, I don't know, there's just a crazy part of me that just loves what we do. And like you said, the things that you do, you can point to the outcomes that it does deliver. And I think there's a lot of satisfaction with that, despite all that hard work and all that pressure I'm sure you both have in your roles. But I think it is great.
Brandee?
I have to agree with both of these wonderful women, but also one of the big ones for me is treat others as you wish to be treated. So I really make sure that I show people the respect that they deserve, and in return, people provide that respect to me. So I think it's definitely important to always remember your audience and always make sure that you're you are speaking to others like you wish to be spoken to.
Thanks. That's a great addition. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go off script for a minute. I told you I might do that, but I'm interested since Brandee, you said you were in project management, and Heidi, you came up through the world of team leading and project management. I'm interested in hearing about your two degrees and how they helped you do your job. And then Kenyatta, I'll come back to you because you're like the serious engineer of the group here, and you could talk about your background. But I'd love to hear from, let's start with Brandee and then go to Heidi on that. So what did you study in school, and how is it relevant? And is it okay to not be a master's of computer science and still be successful in technology?
Absolutely. It absolutely is okay to not be the master. And so I studied economics.
There you go.
So I have a degree in econ, which, you know, I do use every day, not as much as I would like to, but it's very important to make sure that we understand our budget and we know what we can and what we cannot do. I also do have my project management certification. So yes, that has been extremely helpful for me, because when you can manage those really, really large IT projects, you can do anything. So it definitely has helped to get me to where I am today.
Great. Heidi?
Well, my background is accounting, was my degree, and my master's is in international finance and business. And but I did have to take COBOL programming, I admit it. And although that wasn't really where my passion was, sorry guys. But I'm lucky because I have some great engineers that work on my teams, and they every day love what they do and they're great at it. I just came at everything from more of a user experience side and more of a let's make technology easy so that people can use it and help them make sure that they're being effective at what they're doing. But I definitely did have a different experience, that's for sure.
Okay, Kenyatta, you tell us about yours now.
Well, I actually did go to, majored in, right after high school, majored in management information systems right after high school, but I did not finish college. Life happened, and I did not finish. So I therefore, at this point in my life, still do not have a degree. So yes, as a CIO, I still do not have a degree. It had been one of my goals, my own personal goals, really, to go back and finish, but it's something I did not do. But I am also, that's one of the things that I speak to other young ladies about is, and not just young ladies, young men too, about is, yes, I would never discourage anyone from getting an education, because my son just recently graduated with his cybersecurity degree. But a degree, you don't have to have a degree to work in the IT industry. And that's kind of what it boils down to. When I first started, I actually started with the Microsoft Bootcamp. I got a few certifications, and back then it was like NT server and all that good stuff way back when I first started out. But then continuing to get certifications throughout the years. So the certifications is what really, and the experience. I've learned so much OJT at DHS. I've definitely learned a lot from network support, server administration, desktop support. That's how I kind of started in that area. But yeah, it was a lot of certifications and on-the-job training that got me through.
This is so interesting, and I think so inspiring for the women who are listening on the phone. And I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I was a studio art major, so I made pottery, and here I am. And I think that the lesson, I think, for all of the women on the phone is, and on the Zoom, is that you can take many different to become a leader in technology. And it's really how you take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you as you proceed through your career in technology. And it's not necessarily the degree you have. And I can tell you, my ceramics degree doesn't do much for me at all in technology. So I didn't know that about you, Kenyatta, but I'm super glad to hear that, because I think each of you has a very interesting story about that. So I'm gonna pivot to one other question that is always on the minds of women when we have conversations like this. And it's, how do you manage balancing work and the rest of your lives? And what's the secret there that you might share with folks who aspire to have roles like yours? So why don't we start with Brandee?
Sure. The secret to my success with that would have to be my wonderful family. They are always there to support me and guide me and work with me no matter what. And I have 2 children who are 12 and 10, and they make me want to be a better person. And they really support me and help me to focus on doing things that I know are a great example for them in leading them to a brighter and better future.
Great. You're not going to have 6 more.
No, ma'am.
Okay, Heidi, how about you?
As I said, I think my success, and sometimes not always as successful as I'd like it to be, but I'm a big believer in outsourcing as much as I can. So I have been lucky in that when my kids were young, I did have a nanny and somebody that took care of my kids. I try to pick my priorities so that I spend time with my family and try to make that count when I can. But I really feel like it's very hard to draw a perfect line between work and life. So you have to combine them as much as you can, and really try to make sure you make time for the things that are going to really count, and the things that maybe don't count as much, maybe just, like I said, outsource.
How about you, Kenyatta?
So I'll say it has been a hill for me throughout my career. I'll say, especially first beginning, being a female in the IT industry, where there was no balance. It was just work. And throughout the years, I've definitely have found more of a balance. Even though DHS is a 24/7 organization, there's a lot of work to still be had after hours, but we still had to learn how to maintain your work and your personal life. And I thought I had all that under control until COVID. So until the pandemic is when that all just hit the fan. So it was, and working from home, I found just made it worse when you think it, in retrospect, that it might have been easier. But yeah, it was 14-hour days straight, especially when it first hit, and so much stuff to do and things are so different and all. But thankfully now I've found more, going back down the hill, I found more of a balance now of where just to shut down. I even though, I still know I have to pick back up at some point, if there's no more than just reviewing to make sure nothing, critical came through. But to shut down at a particular time, I look to shut down depending upon, what I have, but mostly around 5. And I know that I still have, I know there's still things going on. I know that's still level I still have to go by, but that laptop comes down around 5-ish. And so, and that allows me, start dinner and whatever, that needs to occur. So I try to put a time frame in it, that helps me to be able to balance whatever that is.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. So while we're on the topic of pandemic, maybe I'll go back to you, Heidi. What has changed for you during the pandemic and how have you managed that? Did you find that in your case too, the boundaries between work and non-work got blurred and were challenging to manage? And what were your techniques for managing the challenges of the pandemic?
Well, I wish I could tell you I had the secret sauce on this, because I can tell you I think it's been really challenging. Initially, I'll have to say that at first I thought it was great. We get to work from home, right? It's going to be great. Okay, I can wear my jeans every day or whatever. And I have to say, I've been thinking about this quite a bit, because it's really been a year here for all of us that we've been faced with this. And I think there have been a lot of challenges. I think that work really bleeds into life in this environment a lot more than it did, where you could really clearly have boundaries, where you went to the office and you could make your boundaries that I'm in the office and I'm working versus I'm working at home. So a couple things. So for me, I'm a real people person. So I'm kind of an extrovert, and I noticed that the video conferencing just isn't the same for me. I think it's hard work, and although I like it, I think it's effective. It's hard to do it 24/7. So I've really been trying to figure out how to make those video conferences work, and then occasionally I've gone back to doing phone calls and that sort of thing to try to lighten it's been a load, I think. And they say that people process information differently. So for me, I think I can't tell you I've done a good job at balancing during the COVID. I think we've worked way more hours than we ever have. I think people are on all the time. And I don't think we're as effective as like I said, for the first probably 5 months, I'm like, this is great. We can be totally effective. And I think people were, but now that it's gone on and on and on, it's harder and harder. So for me, how do I balance? I would like to tell you I could turn that laptop off. I'm trying hard. And I try on the weekends. For me, my thing is work really hard during the week and then try on the weekends to at least have at least one day that you can take off.
Thanks.
So I don't have any good solutions.
It's been challenging for everybody. So Brandee, I'm going to ask you to comment on the pandemic as well. But since you talked about teams and people, I'm just wondering what your secrets are for connecting and how you've managed that challenge during the pandemic when you're sitting by yourself and all you can see are the faces of people on the screen. So maybe you could say a little bit about your secret to keeping those relationships up.
Sure, absolutely. I know, like Heidi talked about, it's not easy, and it hasn't been easy. One of the things that we did was we've implemented team building exercises for, on the similar to something that we did in the beginning here, where you have to name one interesting fact about yourself, or, do add a little twist to every meeting to try to get people more engaged, or have other individuals that didn't run meetings before, they're now running meetings, and they're now doing things in order to make sure that they're more engaged and working with the groups. We've seen a big difference in the way that people are communicating and the way that people are working with each other. I know we do have all those extroverts who really want to be, out and around and hugging everybody, but you also have those introverts, and it's hard to get them to come out of their shell on a WebEx meeting or a Zoom meeting or whatever as well. So it's trying to find that balance and working with everyone. And one of the things really that we thought was helped was one was the team building exercises, and then we'd use different platforms. So we try to use one platform for internal meetings and then another platform for external meetings. And I think that maybe that helped us a little bit as well.
That's so interesting. Why do you think that helped?
I think, just being able to switch and be on different platforms, I think it helps individuals to, right, just a change in their routine, a change in how they were processing things.
So let's stick with that, and I'll come back around, but I'll start with you, Brandee. What do you think will be different post-pandemic, assuming that there is such a thing? What will be different in our work lives or in your work life?
Sure. I think that technology has now come to the forefront. So there's so much more focus on technology, on the remote working, on electronic signing of documents. We implemented the soft phones on individuals' machines. So you can take a phone call from your machine. You don't have to have your desk phone. You don't have to be in the office. And, we saw this huge change, right? But individuals really are going to be able to work from anywhere and be able to get everything accomplished. But I think as we move forward, we really have to look at technology and embrace it so that we can provide the proper tools to everyone in order to be able to succeed.
Yeah, that's great. See, there is a little bit of a silver lining to what was a year that no one ever could have ever imagined. Kenyatta, what do you think is going to be different post-pandemic, and what will you make happen post-pandemic?
Well, I'll have to say I was one of those pre-pandemics that you have to be in the office, that there's no way that the entire office can work from home. You have to be there, and help desk, whatever it was, whatever reason you could not function properly at home. And I have learned that it is possible for us to, because we've been doing it, to function 100% from home. There are occasions where we have to come in for certain things once in a while, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, we were able to function 99.9% at home. So what's going to happen after the pandemic? I'm going to say after, when it lightens up, so if it's ever going away, I don't know, I'm still going to allow staff to work from home. So we're still going to be able to do the work from home. I will probably have a hybrid of working from home, because there's some people that's ready to come in the office. At least maybe, and even if it's not every day, and maybe there's some type of schedule, we still probably have some level of social distancing at this point. So we still, still have some type of schedule. But I definitely agree with Brandee about the technology standpoint, the technology that was there that we never utilized. I think that it is there, and now that we can have access, that we know is there, we know how to use it, we're a little better at it than what we were a year ago. That is definitely possible to still have the majority of work from home.
Yeah. I think that we will never have, and it will always be a hybrid of some sort. I think going forward, we'll never have, you must be in the office every single day, or right, you can stay home every single day. And to your point, Brandee, the personal connections, there's no substitute for hugging somebody. There really isn't, whether or at least looking at somebody in the eye and smiling at them. I want to ask the two of you one other question post-pandemic, since both of you spend your life, your professional life, focusing on improving the lives of citizens that you serve. What do you think will happen in terms of technology for the citizens as we emerge from the pandemic. And I guess a big, a question would be, do you think you'll get all the money that you want to do everything you want so that you can deliver all the, wonderful ideas for all the citizens? How do you think the world is going to be? So maybe Kenyatta, we'll stay with you and then I'll go back to Brandee on this.
I think as well as we have evolved in the office, I think there are a lot of people that have also evolved at home, that they or people that never even heard of Zoom before are now on Zoom calls. I even have my older generation that barely had an internet phone is now on Zoom calls. And I'll say my dad is one who at one point still had a flip phone, but can now operate differently on the different types of technology. So as in our systems nowadays, and I'll just speak specifically for DHS, is that we're actually in the midst of our new project within MD Think, which is modernizing a lot of our systems. We certainly currently had 40-year-old green screens. So now we're modernizing for our systems to be in the cloud, and part of it is making sure that there is a customer portal and which is user friendly for the customers to be able to apply for benefits and have access to their cases and such. So I think it is evolving to a point of where not only us internally in the office, but our customers as well is evolving around technology.
Thanks, Brandee.
So I think that the pandemic has brought to light a lot of disparities that we had, and a lot of things that we never really focused on that we now get the chance and the opportunity to focus on. I know, with digital equity and making sure that everyone does have access and, they do understand and they do have the ability to get that training on that technology and really move forward. We have been focused on putting Wi-Fi access points out so that individuals can come there if they didn't have Wi-Fi, or, partnering with Comcast or BGE and several others in order to make sure that we're getting that access out to everyone and making sure that it is available. We created on our website, the Howard County website, we created a services portal where we try to tie in all the services that are available to individuals so that they can go out there and they have one location to be able to see everything and to work with everyone. I really think this is our opportunity for us to move forward and really, really start getting everyone engaged in technology.
And Heidi, what are you seeing from your vantage point on this topic?
Yeah, well, I love this quote that somebody attributed to Winston Churchill, but he said, never waste a good crisis. And Kamal says that often as well. But I think that this is the opportunity where people, first of all, we didn't have a choice, right? So much that technology could solve so many problems with access, right? So it's kind of like, as bad as it's also been a opportunity for us to really figure out how to use technology to solve some of the problems that we need to solve. I think also that citizens have high expectations now with access, and when you think about it, you could just buy just about anything from Amazon and it gets delivered to your house. And now that puts the pressure on our government partners to be able to provide. People are saying, well, why can't I just, and fill in the blank, why can't I just go ahead and renew my license now? Why can't I just get access to this without coming in? And so I think I want to believe, I'm an optimist all the time, and I want to believe this is going to help us really deliver great services to everybody, solving those problems, bringing Wi-Fi to all these places that never had it, being able to deliver services wherever they need to go. One of the things we've been working on, it's a personal favorite of mine, is just a, in general, telehealth app, like just as not just from government, but from medical individuals being able to get support for medical issues with the mobile app. Mobile app is just, I mean, it's mainstream technology now. So I don't know. I want to believe this has been as hard as it's been for all of us, and as just challenging and the very sad things that have happened on the upside. Hopefully this is our door that gets open, that we can all get really smart about how we use technology to make it better for everybody. So.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you've all kind of echoed that theme. I'm going to go back to the personal again for a minute. So you're all, I said you're all rock stars, but you're also all pioneers. And I know that as women in technology, particularly as you move through the ranks, there must have been moments of challenge. And I'd love to hear any stories that you have about challenges that you encountered and how you overcame them, so that folks who are watching today might be encouraged that challenges are not insurmountable and there are some tricks to addressing them. So I'll let a volunteer go first. Who wants to go first? Okay, Brandee, you're up.
I will go back to when I was in college, and originally I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach math, high school math. And I had an individual tell me that a woman can't teach high school math. That's not something that a woman should be doing. You should be focused on cooking and being in the kitchen and various things. And I kind of was stepped back, and I was shocked, because I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, hold on. That's not the direction that we're headed in. That's not where we want to be. And it really made a huge difference for me, because it has been that driver for me for so long now, for just to continue to realize that I can do things. We as women can accomplish things, and we can move the world forward, which we are doing. It is such a huge success, and all of these wonderful women on here today, anything that we want to accomplish, we can accomplish.
And you just had that inner strength and confidence to take on that challenge. That's maybe my putting words around what you said, but it's a really, really amazing story. And it's amazing that somebody said that to you. I have to tell you that. And by the way, in high school, my best math teacher was a woman. So that is crazy. Okay, who else wants to go?
Well, I guess I can jump in there. I would say, well, there's always been challenges. For me, I had to work my way through college. So my parents at the time didn't, have a lot. So, I sort of paid my way through college and did that. It always gave me a little bit of a way to think, if you want to do something, there's a way to do it. But I think for me, I have to say I had great mentors. I was lucky. Often in my career, I had some really good mentors, and I would say that helped me a lot, both men and women. And I try to pay that back. And I think that's really important, to seek mentorship and to find some good mentors. So I feel that helped me quite a bit overcome some of my challenges. But I'll say that I did have a shocking experience when my oldest daughter was in first grade. She was struggling in math, and I talked to her teacher, and she said, well, girls just aren't good at math. And I said, that is just so not right. And anyway, I just kind of said to this teacher, you're totally off base, obviously. And good thing I didn't believe that, because my daughter ended up getting her master's in accounting, so she didn't have any problem with math at all. But I just think that You know, those are challenges we face, but find good mentors.
Kenyatta, what about you? I know mentoring is important to you, but I'd love to hear how you've overcome challenges.
So I'd say the biggest part of my challenge throughout my career was myself, and getting out of my comfort zone. I guess for so many years, I guess I had a mindset that, you know, you having to do more, having to be more, having to, because I'm in this environment that's 98% men, that I had to make sure that I go above and beyond, or you know, do more of what was expected of me. So I kind of stayed in a comfort zone type place. And I learned that I just had to think outside the box. So more so mid-careerish, I had to learn how to think outside the box and do what was not comfortable. And I would say speaking up even in meetings, speaking up when you have an idea, speaking up when things come to mind. It can be your idea, and also that challenge of, yeah, I guess I was always fearful even of speaking up, much less speaking out in public. And so that challenge, that fear, I guess I just learned that I just really need to get out of that box. I needed to get out of that, or you'll never be heard, or you'll always, you know, be the little quiet one in the room that's sitting in the back of the room as opposed to sitting at the table. I think that that's what helped me, is to really get that mindset is nothing great comes from that comfort zone. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to step out of your own way. You have to accept the yeses that you might not have normally accepted, and do things that you would normally have done. So that has helped me move through my career.
Now, I know you're active in mentoring. Did you have any great mentors that helped you in any way? Or are you into mentoring because you wish you had had one?
I kind of had to look down for that one. No, I did not. There was a time where I thought someone was somewhat of a decent role model, but then that turned out to be not so good at all. So during my career, no, I really didn't have any set role models, which is definitely one of the reasons why I find it so necessary for us to have mentors today. And keeping in mind that even mentors need mentors. So from elementary school, that's also one of my passions that I would want to do, is a mentor program from elementary school on to entrepreneurship, of what is available, what we have opportunities to do, not to find ourselves in a box, but to have others to help us along the way, because sometimes you just need that hand to help you, to pull you, to push you, and having mentors to help pave the way for others to come behind them, for sure.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for what you do in mentoring to really extend that hand. That's truly, truly moving and impactful. So Heidi, I'm going to come back to you and ask you, and this kind of, Kenyatta's response kind of reminded me of this question, which is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? Kenyatta's is to speak up.
Well,
how about you?
Yeah, so I think, well, one of the things that your comment there, Kenyatta, made me think about, my biggest piece of advice that I try to give young women that I work with is that they do need to speak up for themselves, because I think that I think back in my younger days, I often thought, let's just work a little harder and a little longer, and somebody's going to notice, and that's really going to be the thing that gets you there. And I think that I noticed, you know, as hard as you worked, there was something there that was missing. And so your comment really hit home with me. And I do try to do this with the people that I try to mentor, is saying, you also have to speak up for what you want. You have to let people know that you're interested in doing things and that you want to be considered for things. And I think and look for people that will listen to you, but speak up for yourself. And I really do think if I had to distill it down to one thing, I would say that I wish that I knew that earlier in my career.
How about you, Brandee?
So I have to definitely agree with the speak up. I would say to love yourself and to remember that it is okay to make mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes. That's the biggest thing. You know, no one goes into life perfectly and everything just goes as smooth as you want it to go. It doesn't happen. And when you make those mistakes, those are your triumphs, for you to be able to move forward and for you to be able to gain the knowledge of where you want to go and who you want to be. So, you know, it's just remembering to love yourself and learn from your mistakes.
That's great advice. So Heidi, I'm going to come back to you on this one. What gets you through those tough times when you make a big mistake? I can ask her that because I know her.
Yeah, well, and Brandee, don't worry, I've made plenty of mistakes. Well, I would say two things. One is I actually think I have a pretty decent sense of humor, and I try to remember keeping a sense of humor is really important. And you kind of ask, if you ask me kind of what gets you through those things, one is, you know, really keep a sense of humor, because you know, really at least that's what's kept me going. I would say the other thing, if I look back at some of the mistakes that I've made, or I would say some of the mistakes other people have made, some of those, some of the things I've just felt like I've learned the most from some of those situations. And, you know, like you said, nobody's perfect and you can't manage through everything, but I certainly have learned a lot through both my own mistakes and others. But anyway, my secret sauce is a sense of humor.
How about you, Kenyatta?
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Things happen. Yes, we're going. That's why I love both of your comments. It's absolutely you having the bring comedy to it with absolutely. But that just goes into not being so hard on yourself. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to do something wrong. It's inevitable. You're not perfect. So things are going to happen. But the question is, what did you learn from it? And how are we not to do it again? So how are we not to just duplicate that? And how can we learn from it? And how can we move forward from it? So just don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, that's great advice. So we only have a couple minutes left. I'm going to give you a minute to make any closing remarks, any piece of advice, any observation that you want to share with the group that is on the phone today. And Brandee, I'll start with you. Words of wisdom, last words of wisdom.
You know, I really don't know that I have any words of wisdom other than, you know, some of the things that we've really talked about is, you know, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to know that you can accomplish and you can achieve anything. We all have talked about the hard work that we put in, right? But you also have to come up with that balance in your family and understand and know that things aren't going to be able to be perfect all of the time, and really move forward and learn and achieve anything. Anyone is possible of being in these positions, and anyone can do it. So just believe in yourself to know that you can.
Great. Heidi?
I'd say pay it forward. I think that we have to really be supportive with each other and really find ways to help others too. And I'm like I said, I'm so thankful for the people that have helped me. I want to pay it forward. And so I'd say be good to, the women that you work for too. So
Good, good one. Okay, Kenyatta, you have the last word today.
I'd say don't give up on yourself. If you have something, and especially it's been on your heart to do, then do what you need to do it. Don't let anybody deter you away from it. So I also agree that actually goes into getting out of your comfort zone, because sometimes we're scared to move forward and we're thinking we can't, but we can. So definitely move forward, and all the power to being that you have to do things that you have in your mind and your heart to do. I also want to piggyback off of Heidi about being a mentor and helping others and paying it forward. It is so helpful to have someone that looks like you, that can help you and pull you forward, and help you pull you forward in your career. So definitely suggest mentoring and networking. Networking is key too. So if you're finding if you're on social media, there are thousands of groups that can help, that's so supportive of especially women in IT and jobs and trainings and different types of careers, and the recruiters, and they are all over the place. So networking and that nowadays in different events, there's things that are so virtual nowadays, and they're even free compared to what some of them may have been even prior to COVID. So so yes, get yourself out there, and especially on social media, and to integrate in with other groups and with other people.
Thank
So
you.
that's another one.
I would
Sorry.
just add that Kenyatta has given us a list of organizations, networking organizations, as well as mentorship opportunities, and we will share those with everybody who joined us today. I want to end by thanking our fabulous panelists. Your words are so inspiring. I am absolutely blown away by your words of wisdom and your courage in telling us things that maybe weren't so easy to share, and letting us understand how you have lived your lives and been so successful. So it has been an absolute privilege to speak with you, and I wish you continued success and luck. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you for having
you.
us.
Great. Thanks.
Great job, ladies. Thank you.
Bye.